Listo. 1 second, please.
Mm-hmm. No.
Qué intro tan larga. Bienvenidos a una nueva emisión de la entrevista. Y el día de hoy estoy bien contento porque estoy con el maestro Jim de UB40. Él es percusionista de la banda. Es, de hecho, uno de los creadores de UB40. Welcome to the show, Jim. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. We're talking about we have an awful day with technology. We're gonna start to recording, and I have a problem. Then you have a problem to connect.
Yeah, I tell you
Technology
what,
doesn't have a word.
I'm the wrong generation for all this. I wasn't really raised with all this technology. It's a new thing really for me, so I'm not very good. I have to get my children to do it for me. Uh,
Well, they are patient. I think
Sorry, but
they are patient to teach you how you can do those things and all that.
absolutely, yeah. Well, I would be completely useless without my kids. Well, they're not kids; they're grown up now. But there you go.
Yeah, there are young guys. I think
They're what?
young guys. I think.
They're all 20 somethings, and
Oh, they
yeah,
are young,
so they
very young.
understand. Uh, uh,
Talking about technology, how did you feel about the back then and the 80s and the 90s when UB40 was were this great band? But I mean, now you are legends, but then you are doing a very good job as a band, doing things like they used to do, old school used to do, with you put out a record and all that, and now there are just one single and it's all digital. How do you feel about this technology thing?
well, I mean, it's there's good and bad. When we first started, if you wanted to make a record, you would have to spend $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day, to in a studio
Hmm.
to make a record, and then you would need a month in the studio to. And the only way you could do that is if the record company gives you money as an advance, so
Yeah.
that you can make the record. Whereas now, anybody can make a record. For $1,000, you can buy a studio, on computer and make your own record. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. I mean, it means that more people it democratizes the music,
Yeah.
um, which I think is a good thing. Um, and I think, yeah, but what we are, what UB40 are, we're a live band. We enjoy playing live much more than making a record. Making a record is boring. You're in the studio for weeks on end, and you don't really, you're writing the tunes, but you don't get a feel for them because you haven't really played them very much, and so but luckily, that's the side of the business that has been most affected by technology,
Yeah.
and but we still play live, and I don't think there's been any difference for 1,000 years. A band will come to a town, they set up, they play, they get paid, they break everything down, they go to the next town. That's been the same for thousands of years. So really, in the end, technology is good. It
Yeah.
democratizes. A lot of people have got access to making a movie if they want to. They can make a record if they want to, and I think that's a really really good thing. But in the end, you may be able to make a record in your own bedroom with a few £100 worth of thing, but you can't necessarily get on stage
Yeah.
and turn that into a live performance. That takes a different skill, and we are a live band, first before anything else.
I know you are part of this. change of music there in London, where it's punk rock and it was a little reggae, and the two tone is coming, and post punk is start to emerge and all that, at first you have this place or this concerts in some pubs. How was the reaction of the people on your music at first?
The very first concert, you mean?
Yeah,
The very
yeah,
first
yeah.
one?
See,
Uh,
yeah.
well, I mean, with us, this was 45 years ago. We went on stage for the very first time in a local pub, and we got a really good response. We were all really nervous. We didn't know what people would expect, uh, and we didn't know what to expect from the audience. But it worked really good, and the second gig we did, that worked really good too. And then so did the third, and then so did the fourth and the fifth, and everything got bigger and bigger and bigger. And here we are now. We haven't really stopped. So that the first reaction, it did take us a little time to understand that when the audience was cheering, they were cheering for us.
Wow.
It was like when they're cheering, we're looking behind to see if somebody's walked on stage behind us. What do you mean that's for us? And that's not an easy thing to take, because when you're creative, you're not even sure whether what you're doing is good or not. And sometimes an audience going crazy, you're thinking, why are they doing that? But in the end, we accepted that, and we've never looked back, really. And we get the same reaction today that we had 45 years ago.
Yeah. I love the evolution of your music. I mean, you have this all reggae thing, and it sounds awesome, man. But have the some elegance. I don't know if you take that or if you look that, but I think you have a very elegant sound at the same time. And then the part of the 90s, it sounds, of course, it sounds kind of reggae, but a more production. It sounds very good. The first time I hear your songs was my uncle putting your record, and it was "Can't Stop Falling in Love with You," and it was
Okay.
magical, man. I mean, it's those synths and the drums, all that. It's kind of dubby, but it was crazy. And then I love your music since then, and I love the progression. How did you start to experiment and put some things in other orders?
Well, when I was a teenager, that's when in 1971, 1972, maybe, that to me that was when I heard the first dub album from Jamaica,
Yeah.
which was King Tubby Meets the Upsetter at the Grassroots of Dub, or Studio One dub. And that was incredible. That was like avant-garde music compared to anything else that I heard. And we got into weed, and and it all made sense. Dub makes sense when you're stoned, when you've had some weed, then it all makes sense. It's abstract, but I loved it, and I still do. That's my favorite form of music. Singers are everywhere. You can find a singer on every street corner, but I like to hear the dub. I like to hear the space. I like to hear the effects, and it pulls you in to the music. And I love that. It's a transcendental experience to listening to dub, and we tried to incorporate that into our sound. Not that we were going to be just a dub album, but we wanted to have dub influences in the music. And once you understand the way dub works, which is let the bass line take the melody, and everything else is and the drums push it along, but everything else is just very ethereal and in the background, and far away in the distance, and and you feel 3 dimensions inside inside the music,
Yeah.
So we wanted to incorporate that. I mean, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we make a straight sort of song, with no dub effects in it. But mostly, I think we like to keep that trippy kind of sound.
Yeah, it gets some atmosphere, and
Exactly. Yeah.
it grows on you a lot. I mean, of course, when you talk about the direct thing, it's all reggae song, but and it is beautiful. The reggae, I love the reggae music because
Mhm.
I think it can have a very love message, or some I don't know, about the government, or can talk about everything,
Mhm.
but it's a very rich songs. The rhythm, all that can grow in your body. But yeah, dub. I love dub, and I love dub because of you, because
Okay.
of your records. I mean, it was the
Great.
first time, and then my uncle told me that the King Toby, the Ethiopians. All those bands.
Yeah.
What bands did you like of dub? Can you, I don't know, recommend?
Well, there was always a dub version of anything, but obviously Studio One, I think, were the masters of it. Lee Perry, King Tubby, they were the masters. But there were others as well. You had ooh, uh, you had people like Jar Bunny. You had anything by the Roots Radix band. There'd be lots of dub albums that were just the Roots Radix band. Then you have the Revolutionaries with Sly and Robbie, and you would always get a dub version of whatever album they've recorded with, say, Dennis Brown, or John Holt, or any of the Gregory Isaacs, Freddie McGregor, any of those great singers. If they do an album, there will be a dub version of the album. One of the best examples is oh God, what they're called? I don't like Mondays.
The
My mind is gone now. But
bottom
it
bottom
was
rats.
Sly and Robbie did Taxi, which was a sort of little label that was releasing dubs, and they were all um, from the 1980s, which was I can't remember the name of the band. That's too much
Don't
wacky
worry.
weed over the years, and I can't remember the name of the band. But that dub thing, I mean, it's still going on as well. There are great dub outfits around the world, like Salmonella Dub in Australia and New Zealand, and Fat Freddy's Drop, and groups like that who are doing it now. So I think it's still. I think a lot of the rules from dub was transferred to dance music in the
Yeah.
90s, where you had like every 4 or 8 bars, the texture of the music will change. There's no song on it. It's just a beat. It's just and I think that like Lee Perry is like the grandfather of modern house music,
Yeah.
modern dance music, and I think all those, the drums up front, the bass up front, that they did that first, At the
Cool.
same time, in the 70s in England, it was prog rock. You had King Crimson and Moody Blues, and which was prog rock. Whereas, like with the dub, it was the drums were just right there in your
Yeah.
face, and the bass was in your guts, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's how modern dance music is today. So I think they were the granddaddies. Uh,
Getting back on your career, when you realize that UB40 is this phenomenal band. I mean, it goes to all the world, but sometimes the artist doesn't realize that. I mean,
mhm.
you're going and play, and you see the audience taking your music, and I don't know, enjoy it, of course. But how do you realize that you are this great band all over the world? What was your feeling about that?
Well, I mean, I think when you can go to Mexico and play to 10,000, 20,000 people, and then you can go to Australia or you can go to Samoa or even Tonga, and these places, and they can have 10, 20,000 people come to see you. And then you can go to India, and 50,000 people come to see you, and then you realize that people around the whole world have heard your music. Even if we don't get any mainstream attention, we know we can go and play almost certainly any continent, and usually any country, and get a good audience, because our music has penetrated in that. And I think, sometimes it's frustrating because you can have a really great gig in front of 20,000 people, and the only people who really know are you and the people in the audience that it was a great night,
Yeah.
So sometimes it's difficult to find, where you are in the mainstream media. But then in the end, it's about how many people want to pay for a ticket, and that's proof to us that it's the reason we continue doing it, because people still want to see us.
Yeah, and you're gonna be you're part of the bands on the Remind GNP o Remind GNP para la gente que va a estar, que es este próximo sábado 25 de mayo a la 1:30 empieza en el infield del hipódromo. You're gonna play with the Jacksons and Buena Vista All Stars. I think Buena Vista Social Club was a very huge phenomenal back in England. I don't know if it is true, but I mean, I think that those some of them go to England, and they were the last years of this huge artist went well back in England, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was the movie that that made them legends, and I mean, I think we can relate to that because, I mean, we don't read and write music, we're not technical, but we can make a good sound, without having to come from a music college or study it in university or be any kind of virtuoso. It's about knitting together and how you play together as an ensemble, and I think that is really the most important thing in the end, not the individual virtuoso skill of the player. It's how they can fit together, and I think in a lot of ways we can, when you get those really well-trained musicians, they can overcomplicate things, whereas I think, like with the Buena Vista Social Club, these people knew how to do the most simple thing that had the biggest effect, because when we say simple, it doesn't mean easy. To keep things simple can sometimes be the hardest thing in the world.
Of course.
When you want to be you want to be diddling and going all up and down the scales. Even with singers are the same. Sometimes it's a bit indulgent, and to find that the barest possible contribution that sounds complete, that feels like you don't need any more, it's a chemistry thing. You can't really write that down. It's an attitude, and we understand reggae, and reggae has that feeling in it, that discipline, that simplicity, that space inside the music. And I think any ethnic music from anywhere around the world probably has all those same qualities.
Yeah, of course. It's the important thing is the message, is not the virtuoso thing. I mean, it's okay if you play the scales and on the guitar or everything, but I feel more comfortable with a band with a message, a band with the songs can move my heart, and all those feelings. And I think you guys have that all the time. I mean, you are a band that I always get back to hear you. I mean, at least one day at the month is it's a UB40 day. Let's play it because you give me so much. I don't know, man. I'm walking. I'm with you walking. Of course, on Spotify, and hear you and all that. But I'm. You changed the day, man. your music can take you to a better place. That's what I love about your music.
Well, you know, it's better. It's great to hear that because obviously we have heroes, musical heroes, who do the same. For us, you know, I mean, in 1976, we all went to see Bob Marley
Wow.
live in a local. It wasn't very big gig. It was really early on, and that was a complete inspiration. You know, that you could this music that was so had so classy. I mean,
Yeah.
real class. The musicians, you know, but there was a rawness and a heaviness to what they were doing as well. You know, so it was like alchemy. You know, it's a magic combination of sheer class and rawness as well. You know, and that so obviously, if other people are inspired by us in the same way that we were inspired by other musicians like Bob Marley or like Freddie McGregor or John Holt, you know, then that's a beautiful thing. What can I say? You know,
Of course, of course. Bob Marley was your Velvet Underground or your Sex Pistols. I mean, that changed your mind. Seeing Bob Marley doing their things, I think.
well, we were already fans of reggae from the late 1960s to the early 1970s, and that was before Bob Marley came along.
Okay.
You know, we were into those old crooners like like Gregory Isaacs and Dennis Brown and Freddie McGregor and John Holt and all those great singers. And now they were singing just love songs. They weren't really that political, you know. And then Bob
Yeah.
Marley came along, and suddenly things became a lot more political and spiritual, and and darker, and and I love that. That was the roots period of reggae for us, which was the 70s, 1970s, which was
Yeah.
all roots. Then in the 1980s, you had more dance hall and more kind of more poppy reggae, like we were doing with
Mainstream.
Red Wine, and and so the music itself has been going is bigger than any of the individual artists that choose to perform in that genre, and
Yeah.
I think it stops us from sounding like a 1980s band, because a lot of bands started at the same time when we started, but they sound like the 1980s. Whereas I think with us, because we chose reggae, which is
Mm.
an international music and a timeless music, I don't think that we sound any less fresh than we did in the very beginning. I think we sound just as fresh today, because of the style of music we chose to play.
Yeah, it's out of time. I mean, it's timeless. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a band. Can you put now? You can put on the 80s. You can put on the 90s, and it's
Mhm.
all. I think that's a confirmation of your of all. We all went to your music. You're not looking for us. We'll get to your music, and that's what the great bands, the legendary bands, it's about. We're gonna get to you because your music is calling us.
Yeah, yeah, and to have that still after 45 years is, I mean, we're the luckiest people who ever lived, really. You know, we dreamed of when we were just kids in the inner city in Birmingham, which is a industrial city. It's
Yeah.
where the car industry used to be. Um, and we were kids from the street, and we had a dream of becoming a reggae band, and in the end we became the biggest reggae band in the world. I think there's nobody that sells more music than we do out of that
Yeah.
genre. So what can I say? That's a dream come true. I don't have a bucket list, because my bucket list is already been
Phil.
achieved. uh,
Fulfill.
it's really, what more could I ask for, really, in life?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Of course.
very lucky man. Go on.
Can you tell me how did you get on the percussion things? I mean, uh, of course, is when you decide to get to play reggae with all your friends and all that. When you say, "I love to play percussions, I'm gonna buy this," or you have some, or where do you take that decision?
Well, we were at school together. Most of the band, we were at school from a very early age, and from the age of 11. So we were all friends from when we were 11 years old, and and kind of those things developed. I in the end I became the drummer because I was the only one that had actually sat behind a drum kit
Hmm.
and kind of knocked out something, a rhythm. I was the only one that could do it. When I was young, I used to be tap, 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 tapping all the time on the desk and on the, my mum used to go, stop doing that, and the teachers would hit me on the back of the hand with a ruler, for making just doing that because
Yeah.
I always wanted to make rhythms, so it was kind of natural. But we all learned, from we were about, I don't know, about 19, 20 years old when we actually started doing it seriously and learning to play an instrument seriously,
Yeah, I love I love all your arrangement, man. It gives all, of course, you give all the those colorful and Latin things. I mean, it's so great to hear your arrangements. I love them.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you very
can
much.
always I always like ask the people because we are looking at platforms like Netflix, HBO, and all that. Did you
Mm.
see a recent series? Can you tell us to see? Do you recommend?
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. To be honest, the 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 best series, crime series that I've ever seen is a series called "Too Old to Die Young," and that
Hmm.
was made by Nicholas Winding Refn, who made Drive, the movie Drive,
Okay.
and
Oh, I love that movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
with Ryan Gosling. Um, he's one of my favorite directors, and he made a crime show, like
Wow.
just a one-off series. And it's called Too Old to Die Young, and it's one of the greatest, most beautifully filmed pieces of weirdness I've ever seen. So I recommend that fully. That's the best series I've ever seen,
Too
apart
old.
from maybe uh, Twin Peaks, the Return,
See.
the
Yeah.
third
So.
series of Twin Peaks.
Oh, I love Twin Peaks. Oh,
No,
it's
I think
great.
the newest one, they did it on Showtime.
Yeah.
Showtime gave him David Lynch the budget to make a new series. It's an 18-hour movie, and if
Yeah.
you like David Lynch, it's the most beautiful 18 hours you could possibly spend watching television.
I
So
can I can agree. I can agree more.
okay, good.
What can we expect? Of course, one of the greatest shows of reggae you can see in your life. But this Saturday in Mexico, when you get here in Mexico, are you gonna? They're gonna get you here before because before you can see some things, or you get
Not
here,
re-
play, and go.
Yeah, not really. We're traveling on the Thursday. We get to Mexico on Friday. The gig is
Hmm.
on Saturday,
Yeah.
and I think we leave on Sunday. Uh,
Okay.
so it's not. I mean, we have to be in Morocco in a few days after that. So
No.
we're really busy going everywhere. So we won't get to see anything. I mean, we've been to Mexico many times.
Yeah.
I
No.
love Mexico. I love the people. I love the vibe. I really like Mexico City. It's quite. I don't know. It can make you nervous a little bit. But it's full of life. And full of people are on the street. Uh, in England after midnight, it's like everybody's in bed.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like they all think they're Cinderella. That they have to be back
Yeah.
12 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. That vibe of freedom that you feel in Mexico. One of my favorite countries. I love Mexico, so I'm looking forward to coming.
We're looking forward to see you
Mhm.
and see, of course, UB40, one of the greatest reggae bands of all the world. And I can only say thank you for this time. Thank you for the opportunity to meet you.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. Maybe see you at the show.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be
Okay.
there. In fact, I'm going there just to watch all the UB40 songs. I
Okay.
can play. I mean, it's a fest. It's a little more short the time, I think, but I love to see you, man. I
Yeah.
love to see. I mean,
Well,
I really love your music.
if you're in touch with our office, then why don't you come and say hello afterwards? If you
I,
can,
I will love that. I will
yeah,
love
okay.
that.
Well, you can organise it with the press people. The yeah, if you have a number or you know, you can maybe organise that.
No,
Otherwise, I can remember your name and we can put you on the guest list and we can work that
yeah,
out. Okay, that'd be
I
great.
will love that, man. I will really love that.
We'll have a drink afterwards.
Of course, I
Yeah,
love
okay.
that. I love that too.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you too. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No, man,
Uh,
it's an honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers, man. I think we're
Bye.
done.
Thanks.